Welcome to the Mile High Podcast. This is your host, Dr. Daniel Knowles. Thank you for joining us from whatever altitude you are watching or listening. You know, we're at Mile High altitude, and that's where you want to make sure you dial in to be at in September of 2023 for Mile High 11. Yes, these go to 11. And you also know we're at Mile High altitude because you can see on the screen if you're watching, we won Michael Viscarelli, the one and only Michael Viscarelli, flanked by the flag behind him, to be representing the U.S. and also representing true TIC values and principles, which he always does. He almost needs no introduction. However, I'd like to say a few wonderful things about him so he knows that I don't only talk bad about him, because he's a Life University graduate. He's a founder of ADIO Chiropractic in Golden. He mentored nearly 1,000 office openings to record levels across America as a support of Sherman, LifeView, LifeWest, ICP. He supports so many organizations in chiropractic and really does it humbly, which I truly really admire that about him and his commitment to what our profession stands for. He opened with 174 new patients his first week, and saw 300 patient visits a week within his first month of practice. So, and since then, he really just does his best to serve chiropractic and serve the communities that he focuses on. So thank you so much for taking your valuable time to be with us, Dr. Mike.
It's my pleasure, bud. I enjoy spending time with you, Danny.
Well, and we appreciate any time we get to connect and talk to you. So tell me, first of all, and tell everybody who's watching and listening, and I know after this, they're going to want to hit subscribe so they never miss any Mile High Tick, because this will be one of their favorite episodes. What has it been like mentoring docs during the last 2 years that we've had to live through in the U.S.?
Man, it's challenging. I would say that this generation of chiropractors coming out of school, with no offense meant or intended here, already somewhat lack grit. As the generations have gone on from your mom and dad, from my mom and dad, all the way to us and beyond to our children, you've almost seen a decline in grit to some degree. Right. We have fat cat syndrome. We get offended easily or easier than we used to. Everything bothers us. We have sensitivities, anxieties, all these sort of things that I feel like has enhanced or exacerbated over recent years. So you take that into account, and then you put the stresses and the pressures of these last 2 years upon these young cats coming out of school, that already it's stressful. There's a lot of voices in your head. There's a lot of voices in your family saying, don't open your own practice, go get a job, get some experience, pay your bills. Don't worry about being a business owner, because maybe through their experience, they have stresses through their experience as parents or friends or business people in their world or mentors. Maybe they've had setbacks, and they start speaking that over these young cats coming out of school. And our philosophy, our approach is we want to create critical mass in chiropractic by opening wildly successful practices with no starvation period straight out of school and into the marketplace, where you, myself, and so many others can refer and trust that where they go, they're going to be well cared for, that they're going to get principled chiropractic, not watered down, stout meat and potatoes chiropractic, and they will get it with integrity and excellence along with the results. We know chiropractic works, but we need to package it in a way that people desire it, that people understand it, and people will pay a valuable price for it, and they'll get well. And so 2 years of, hey, listen, the inflation, the political climate, the shutdowns, the masks, the restrictions, the regulations, on top of a stressful scenario already, we've had to really encourage, really work on that mental mindset, that strength, right, that grit, absolutely, to help encourage them to get to that, to really take the plunge.
And that's so vital, because I always get so inspired to see someone get out of school and just open the doors, and commit to serving their community. Now, success leaves clues. If you've mentored, so many practitioners over your careers thus far, and I know you're going to keep mentoring more, and I'm grateful for you to do that because people need what you have to share. What are some of the things that you see in the most successful people? What are the characteristics as well as maybe the action steps that they take?
The first one, I think, Danny, and I got to say this, is commitment to the principle. Man, some of these young cats are coming out and they're like, well, somebody offered me a job, so I'm sort of thinking about that. But they're in like our Jumpstart program and they're like going to open their practice, and they've been like set out to open their practice. But then they're like, well, somebody told me if I came and opened theirs, or I could buy theirs, or blah, blah. And I'm like, when I was coming out, dude, I had such blinders on. I was focused on gold and opening this practice and hitting record numbers. That's what I wanted to do. So there was no temptation. There was no low-hanging fruit. There was no easy opt-out. I had blinders on. So for me, commitment to what I want to do, but commitment to the principle, Danny. But listen, there's so many people out there right now that are going, listen, when we came out and we started this program, we started encouraging people to do this. And when I came out and I wanted to open my practice, all I wanted to do was to serve chiropractic. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talk about serving our community. No, I want to serve chiropractic first, serve my community with chiropractic, serve my family through chiropractic. I was not looking to serve myself. And so we used to speak against the mixers. We used to speak against the therapy, speak against the nutrition, speak against the exercise, the weight loss, all the stuff that you teach in your practice, Danny. We used to have to speak against that stuff to get people's mind and show them, success leaves clues, show them that the principle of chiropractic works every single time. And that's our specialty. That's our expertise. That's like the golden egg. There's all the other disciplines and practitioners out there doing the other stuff. Well, they're not doing what we're doing. They can't do what we do. Yet we get distracted on getting sucked in on these other modalities and other things that edify us. We think that it makes us more puffed up as a doctor, that it brings more credibility. But the number one reason that we are facing this again in the principal model of chiropractors going to neuropathy, going to gut stuff, going to detox, going to all this shit, dude, is because, Danny, they want more money. They want an easier route to make more money that edifies themselves, that selfishly serves them. We're not here to serve you. We're here to serve chiropractic. And that's our number one commitment. That's the number one thing we have to be tied to coming out of school to be successful in practice. Because every low-hanging fruit, Danny, that comes by, that's like, ooh, I could make $5,000 more. Ooh, I could do this kind of care plan and make more, but I can't see families. Danny, I have guys that are like preaching to our successful members that they could make more expensive short-term care plans and exclude taking care of families. Right. Leave the kids at home, make more money off this one person. They can suck it, dude. I hate that crap.
Yeah, it makes me sick. Truly, it does. And here's the thing: you have the most powerful healing art in the history of humanity in your hands, in your head, and in your heart. And then you're going to put something else in front of that is disheartening, to say the least. However, you see people thrive while they put chiropractic as the only thing they do, correct?
Danny, the reason people have to sell out is because they've never owned the principle. So when they don't own the principle and their heart is not committed to it, any low-hanging deal will be easier than selling the principle for a high value. So like they say, well, I couldn't figure out how to make 6 figures a month, or let me say it this way, collect 6 figures a month, just serving the principle. So I had to add these things. I committed to these other things. I put my integrity into question as a chiropractor. And then they say the same old shit that they used to say in the Mercedes 80s through the 90s into the 2000s. I just use it to help people get in the door, but they're getting adjusted. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah,
And so
I
it's like,
know. I know. I
it's the
know.
same old story, hook, line, and sinker. But these guys they look at the lifestyle. They look at the highlight reel on Facebook. They say, well, they just bought a boat. I haven't bought a boat. They just got a new house. I didn't get a house yet. I can't get approved for a house yet. Well, you're only like 18 months into practice. Have patience. Don't compare your story to somebody else's. Your journey is perfect. Your story is perfect. You don't have to worry about robbing your joy by comparing yourself to others. Stay focused on what you're doing and it will return. You can't outserve the principle of chiropractic. It returns to you tenfold, never void. And the first home will come, the second home will come. The tithes will come to all the organizations that you want to support for chiropractic. Whatever the car is, wherever you want to go on vacation with your kids, you can't outserve chiropractic. It will return to you, but you got to stay the course. You sell out and sell something else and bastardize our principle, bastardize our profession, our integrity, and our name, you will never be satisfied. You will never be content, and you will always be chasing the next thing that will fill your belly.
Right.
But let me tell you, Dan, it doesn't fill the belly. The belly's never full with material things. The belly only fills with purpose. When you're on purpose and you're serving out of passion, that's when the tummy's full. That's when you feel at peace. That's when you know you're leaving it all on the field and you're serving big.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I got to ask you this. You, not only did you go, hit the ground running in a big way out of the gate and opening a practice, you decided to start Amped. What was in your heart and spirit of like, there had to be a huge why, right? So what was your why to start Amped?
Man, I think that I have this like military value in me. I am way more country than club. I'm a blue collar chiropractor. I'm not this posh, like foo-foo Boulder, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not that guy, I'm like, I'm in head to toe denim. I've got denim boxers on right now. I've got denim socks on, dude. We're out working on the ranch.
I was told that you have incense burning in your office, so I'm not sure.
There's not. There's not. We do burn those Restoration Hardware candles until I found out that they're like, I don't know what they are, like $50 a pop or whatever. And I was like, wait a second, Tara. I was like, we're going through 4 of those a month. That's $200 in candles a month. What are we doing? Just put on some deodorant. It'll smell fine in here. Anyway, so can you edit that part out? Can you cut that out? My goodness. So she won't watch this anyway. She's so tired of hearing me talk. So I could say anything.
Oh, she always watches and listens to the podcast for mine. Every week.
So
I tell her she's got to stop watching.
So I have this blue collar, this military, this patriotic aspect in my mind. And I have this thing in my heart that's very military-esque, is to leave no man behind.
Mm-hmm.
And I believed in my heart when we started this, Jeremy Hess and Rob Schiffman and others taught me so much as a student, so much. They were always available to answer questions. They were always available to show me the way. They were always available to stay late and go deeper. And to me, it paved the way of my life. Now I had to put myself out there to learn. I had to put myself out there to get those questions answered, to get the experience. I had to position myself to be elevated, right? I'll have people say, well, I feel like I'm just like a number in Amped. I'll hear that, right? That can exist in a church. That can exist as a practice member in your practice. They just feel like a number. They come in, get adjusted, and they go out. Come in, get adjusted, go out. But sometimes when those practice members fall off, they're not asking questions. They're not coming in as regularly. They're no longer referring. They're no longer participating in your events or your drives. You sort of can forget about them. They're not positioning themselves to necessarily be remembered or stay in the forefront of your mind. I can't position you. So what happened was I positioned myself to be elevated. And these guys sent the elevator right down to the bottom floor and let me get on. And so with that being said, when people started asking questions of what we were doing, how we were doing it, and the successes we were achieving out of the gate, I had this desire that I wanted to answer everyone's questions because I wanted them to have the trajectory, at least the opportunities that I had coming out of school and into practice. And so that was like deeply ingrained in my heart to not leave anyone behind and try to help more people go further faster.
Right.
And
Oh, I
over
love that. I
time,
love that. Go further, faster. I love that.
well, Danny, in my head, it's like I'm grinding in this practice where, those years, exhausted, like so tired, come home, 2 a.m., I have to go back, be there by 6 a.m. so I could write care plans and analyze x-rays and all this stuff and just going berserk, and hitting networking meetings and BNIs and screenings. And it's just like for like 18 months going blind. And yet I'd stay up another 2 hours or after work even longer to answer questions of students and young docs calling or showing up at the facility. And so it was like, man, we have to make sense of this. We have to give people an opportunity. Nobody opens practices out of school like AMPS. Nobody. And the reality is that we battle against the people that are in those voices in the head that's saying, just get a job, where they could go get eaten up by another chiropractor. They could go get a poor example by another chiropractor. They could go into a mixer's modality driven practice and they could lose their vision. Most people are just barely hanging on to that principled side of chiropractic. The other side looks real sexy, right? Lots of money, drive the Mercedes to the office. You know what I mean? It's like billing insurance, no real screenings, just relying upon being in network, chasing ambulances, buco bucks. That's sexy, dude. That's so sexy to the young student that's got $250,000 in debt. And like you and I, maybe 400,000 because we took a few classes twice. You know what I mean? It's like those things can be stressful and that stuff starts to look real sexy. Right. So we're really up against the wall, pounding the pavement to tell people, hey, listen, you can do this. You make your hours. This is wrapped around your vision, your fullest expression of who you are, but tied and anchored deeply to the principle of chiropractic.
Right. And it's vital. Here's the thing. It differentiates you when you do that. That differentiates you when you do that. It's so easy. Sadly, I wish this was not the case. It's so easy to differentiate from other chiropractors today because there's very few that actually share a chiropractic message. It's a competitive advantage. And I wish that wasn't the case. It's not like bragging and it's not like I want that to be. With all of that going, you put a lot of energy out that people, I'm aware of how much you put out. A lot of people do not know how much you give and do. And I respect that tremendously. With that, I know you don't do it. I know you want to see more happen. Do you see a renaissance ahead for chiropractic in terms of the principle?
Danny, it's a really good question, bud. There was a time where I felt like there was such a tipping point of critical mass, kids coming out of all these schools and open their practice. I feel like with this whole political climate, everything we just came through with the pandemic and everything else, I feel like it's really derailed a lot of students back into the thoughts that they just have to come out of school and get a job. That scares me. Because coming out of school and just getting a job, Danny, is not a reproducible model that we can count on people, locating, analyzing, and adjusting subluxation based upon a thorough analysis, x-rays if necessary, and a specific technique that eliminates the subluxation and educating people to refer their family and get under lifetime care. Danny, I know you've been doing this forever. And I know, Danny, that when you go on me and say you give here, you give there, Danny, you lead from the front, brother. I have watched, I praise you for how you practice. I love to make fun of your technique, but I know you're a specific practitioner, even though I don't understand. Anyway, let's just keep moving, like what's happening on the table. I know it works. I know it's chiropractic. I know you're educating your community through your staff and through yourself and everything in between. I know you're a chiropractor. And then you walk your talk by giving back to our profession constantly, bud. Constantly. And I know it's been thankless for you. You've shared stories with me and I've witnessed it. I know it's been thankless for you and it's been thankless for me in a lot of ways. And we'll build this great success. We'll build these great practitioners. Then some clown will swoop in and say, and prey on them and be like, yeah, but if you add this, you could make $5,000 more. And then they do it instead of just being patient, knowing that, no, knowing that what they're doing, it just by adding this has a ceiling of success. But by doing what they're doing has no ceiling. We've got people doing principled chiropractic, collecting over $200,000 a month.
Right.
Substations, x-rays, adjustments, reevaluations. That's it. No supplements, no lap dances, no colon blow, no freaking neuropathy, adjusting people over the phone. Bullshit. Chiropractic, bro. Chiropractic. We do not have enough people screaming chiropractic from the rooftops. We just had a phenomenal opportunity to shift the movement towards chiropractic, as everyone was like, my body, my choice. I don't want to get injected. I'm not going to comply. I don't want to do this. And we're over here fumbling around. If we had our shit together on our side, because there's vitalistic chiropractic and allopathic, right?
Right.
But these guys are aligned on allopathic. They're aligned. They're
totally.
Like, man, sell more shit, facilitate the adjustment, chase more ambulances, get more clown cars of people from PIs, whatever. Vitalistic over here is divided, dude. They are divided. We're not just like vitalistic and that's it. Right. No, it's like upper cervical is better than full spine. You know what I mean? Network's not chiropractic, whatever they say. I've never said it. Liam Schubel will say network's not chiropractic. You've never heard me say that except for open quote, end quote, Liam Schubel. But, and then it's like, I can adjust people over the phone. I don't even need to see them. Weight loss, the 3 T's, all this shit, dude. Right. All that stuff's important. But nothing is more important than the message of principled chiropractic. None of this stuff matters more than the principle of chiropractic. Right. And we're fumbling around on all this other stuff, Danny, and we lose focus and we're divided up. So that's why this side who's united and sell all this crap, only 12 visits, stay in network with insurance, collect your copay, and go home. That's why they're winning. That's why they're winning, Danny.
Right. And people have to remember chiropractic care is more than enough, right? And more than enough. And the people that I've gotten to a point, and you may agree or disagree with this, is that we have to stop throwing rocks at each other, and we have to be more about what direction is the person facing versus how far they are along that. If you're facing the direction of the principle, the values, and you're going further towards that through your own personal growth and journey, then we've got to be on the same side. It's when you're facing the allopathic direction, going further in that direction, then that's a problem, right? So I'm not going to judge that you do TRT because I know at least you're facing that direction, so, and we're in the same camp. So you got to do that,
Danny, you got to know, when I was in school, I loved upper cervical. I loved tall recoil. I loved NUCA. The only reason I didn't go down that road was when we were in school, there was these kids that were teaching it, really, really bright Asian kids. And they were, they had very thick accents. They're teaching both clubs. I had a hard time understanding. They're speaking way over my head, blue collar chiropractor over here, right? Like, just show me the mechanistic, whatever. Right. But so I ended up like, my friends were really big into Gonstead. I was hardcore Gonstead, loved Gonstead, adored it. And there's a buddy of mine that we'd always debate. And he's like talking about TRT. And I was like, what's TRT? He's like, well, it's tonal. And he's telling me all this stuff. And it's, it takes the best aspects of network and elevates it, all that sort of stuff. But literally, he's telling me all these things. And I'm like, how do you do it? He's like, well, it has an instrument. I'm like, he's telling me about his mom. His mom does it. And I was like, instrument? What a loser. I'm like bagging him in school. I'm like, loser, your mom. And then I was like, where does she practice? He goes, well, she practices out of her car and she does mobile visits. I was like, she's homeless? I'm like, that's what happens when you do instrument adjusting, is homeless. Now we're one of the biggest instrument adjusting practices in the world. And I'm like, what a hypocrite. But at least I'm not living out of my car.
Right. Just a truck. You're just living out of the truck.
That's right. A vintage truck, a classic truck. Oh,
well,
what?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, what would be your recommendation? We'll be wrapping up the last few minutes of this podcast here. What are your recommendations for either students in school to come out strong, or, their first few years in practice?
They need to surround themselves with people that are totally focused on principled chiropractic, that throw literal gas on their fire, encourage them, surround themselves with people that are showing the way, sending the elevator down, that's congruent with them, that they can see it as a reproducible model for their success in practice. Doesn't mean you have to do it the same exact way you practice, Danny, or I practice, or others. Right. But a model that can bring the principle to the marketplace with excellence, honor for the profession, and respect for business, integrity-filled business. Because I'm telling you, Danny, you didn't have to sell anything to get your success. You have successful children. You have a very successful marriage. You have a very successful practice, Danny. Your life is envious in what you've accomplished by serving the principle. I've told you this, Danny. I really feel like, and to raise, I'm being serious here, to raise those kids in Boulder with all these mixed messages that are there in the state of Colorado, brother, in the generation that they just came through, to have such dialed in, family focused and respectful kids. You and the wife, you've done a lot of things right. I've told you that. You set a bar for guys like me and others. And I'm not saying that just to dote on you. It's envious. I'm envious because, in a good way, because I want my children to come out of this state, loving their family, loving their country, loving their God, and loving the principle of chiropractic, and living that lifestyle of getting adjusted first. So these young practitioners need to be committed. They need to fall in love with the principle, and they need to put those blinders on to all the shiny, low-hanging fruit that could distract them and say, hey, sell out for this sale. There's no sale worth the sellout, Danny. You know what? I have fought for this profession. I have fought against regulatory boards, as you know. We've given back. It's been a thankless journey in several ways, but I wouldn't change it for the world, because I can put my head on the pillow at night and I know that I walk in integrity. I know that I know I've offended people, but I've offended people with truth. And if you're going to offend somebody, offend them with truth, because I'm not here to serve people. I'm here to serve the principle of chiropractic, and the principle of chiropractic will serve the people, brother. Right. So we do it unapologetically. And we say, listen, the principle of chiropractic was our commitment. And you guys, the practitioners and the people, we are trying to elevate you so that you can serve the principle of chiropractic, so that the profession elevates. Right. Right. And that's one of the things I so admire about you. And because I know what you stand for. And that's why, again, I just always tell people how much better and impactful you are in the profession than Liam Schubel. So obvious. That's why he had to flee the country. He couldn't compete. See, when I came into the marketplace, Liam said, oh shit. And he said, here's the next generation of just butt kickers. Not only are they butt kickers, but they're wildly masculine and good looking. I'm just going to go to South America and just bow out. Is essentially and it's, can you blame him, Danny? Can you blame him?
Well, he's from New Jersey, so
hey, listen, I like to tease and I like to bag guys like Liam. I really just like to bag Liam. But Liam was in the forefront fighting on the front lines there in Jersey. Totally. He has fought for y'all. And that's what you did, Danny. That's what you did well, is that you surrounded yourself with warriors for the principle of chiropractic. Now, I know that some have backdoored you. I know that some of you have stepped on your toes and maybe even stabbed some.
Yeah. Right.
But it's the way of the world, and the way you can take the shot. Because let me speak to the young students and the young docs and the regular docs. It's not if the world will hit, it's when will it hit. Right. It's not if, it's when will it hit. It's not if a friend will have an affair. It's not if a friend will backstab you. It's not if somebody will steal money from you. It's not if somebody will slander you. It's when. When you know that, but you know what God you're committed to, you know what principle you're committed to, you know that you're on purpose, it's so much easier to take the hit and keep on going. And you understand that this is just the way of the world. Doesn't mean that you have to curse them, bless them, but move forward. You know, reduce access to you from those people and move forward.
Right.
It hurts a little bit, but at the same time, when you know who you're serving and what you're serving, it's a lot easier to take those hits from the world and move forward.
And honestly, that's what you just shared as the chiropractic principle, because it's adaptability. It's you know, how things, stresses are going to happen, and you want the buffering, the adaptability of a healthy spine and nerve system. That's what it is that we do that makes all the difference. And it's not curing something, it's not treating something, it's not fixing something, it's not, you know, holding a lens over someone or something or whatever, or lighting incense. It's you know, it's about the fact that you want to help person, assist them to be as adaptable as possible, because life will happen. And the greater bandwidth, a buffer you have for stresses, the greater life you're going to have, and you have principle into how you live your life. And you are such an example of that, and kudos to you for doing that with others, because we need an army of chiropractic warriors that are going to put chiropractic as a center of what they do, if not the, you know, hopefully the only thing they do, and first and foremost and focused, because it's what the world needs. So I want to thank you so much for taking the time, because you have a very busy schedule, to be on the Mile High podcast. If people want to get in touch with you more, how can they learn more about AMPed? Where should they go? What should they do?
Well, I appreciate you asking that. I mean, obviously, they want to get in touch with me personally. There's two ways. The easiest way is through Facebook Messenger. Another easy way is going to ampedconnect.com, and you can schedule a call with me, ampedconnect.com, and you can schedule a call with me, except for you, Danny. Don't do it. But I love being on this. You know, I missed being a presenter this year, and 2 years ago, I missed presenting because 3 days earlier, my barns burned down, my property burned in Morrison Evergreen area. And then this year, my grandmother passed away, and I went home for her funeral. I was flying back on Friday, and they said they canceled the flights for fog. I literally could have looked out. I mean, it was like 8 a.m. I could have gone outside and gotten a tan in 30 minutes. There was no fog. But United was in that phase where they're canceling all these flights. They canceled my flight. Later that night, I flew to Chicago and then rented a car, drove home, and got home Sunday morning at 4 a.m. in the morning. And so I missed on getting to present. You had to put in some hack to replace me, just like Dooley years ago. And I missed being present at Mile High. And I really hurt my heart, because the fellowship, getting to share, tell the truth, and participate in an event like Mile High. Mile High is bigger than just your conference. Mile High, we've got the foundation. There's a network of docs here that are fighting for chiropractic on the front lines, for the laws, for the principles, for our well-being as practitioners in our state, trying to motivate people to do the same in other states. It's not just a weekend event. I mean, look at this podcast. Look what Danny's doing on a regular basis for chiropractors. And I just wanted to inspire people, whether they're in Colorado, to get involved, or if they are outside of Colorado, to start that movement in their own state, and literally put on the armor and go to the front lines, because so many people in our profession are not frontline fighters, but they still need warriors on the front line for the profession. And if you believe you could be a frontline fighter, you need to get involved and play your role and inspire others to play theirs, whether that means that they're in the background giving money, if that means that they're coming to vote, whether they're, you know what I mean, signing a petition, whatever it is, we need people to participate.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to mention this and we'll wrap up the podcast. We're going to do more in Colorado. We're going to do more philosophy nights. I'm going to be calling on you for that. We need to, you know, even strengthen our backyard. So thank you for all you do to help students, docs, around the world. I know you I was gonna say work tirelessly. I know you do get tired, but I know you go beyond tired and put the energy in. And so thank you again for being on the podcast. Thank you everyone for watching, listening. Remember to hit subscribe and keep changing spines, lives, and minds with chiropractic, with the principle. Dial in being at Mile High Live September 2023, and watch for other podcasts, watch for philosophy nights, because we have to grow the Renaissance. So thank you so much, Dr. Mike. And I'm going to hunt you down in Buena Vista.